Hey everybody, welcome back to Crosses Talk. I know it's been a while since I've done a video. Just been getting ready for Christmas and you know, dealing with life as everybody else is. I hope you guys are doing good. If you like the content that you see in this video, hit that like button down below. Subscribe. I'm gonna get more consistent with my videos and really dedicate myself to doing something with this. So today I'd like to discuss with you. Also, today's December 20th, 4 days till Mr. Cross's birthday right here. Big 3-1. So today's topic's gonna be about COVID. And I know that's been overdrawn and overtalked, and everybody has been just sedated with COVID discussions and guidelines and having to define our lives for the last 2 years. And my issue with COVID is not the actual number of cases, who's being vaccinated, who's not vaccinated, who's losing their job, who's not, even though that's an important thing to me. And I'm glad that the mandates were struck down in the Supreme Court. Thank you for check and balances. Also, I want to give a shout out to Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema. When you do right, you need to be commended, and we need to be humble enough to be able to admit and realize when someone that isn't necessarily on our political stances or beliefs or policies, they do something that's right. You need to call it out for what it is. We can not only just focus on the negative. At the end of the day, we are all Americans, and that's what's supposed to be the divining thing that ties us together, no matter if you want healthcare for all or healthcare for private sector. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we're American, and we want the best for the red, white, and blue. Period. Honestly, in my heart, I do not believe that the Democrats, that the Republicans, the Rhino Republicans, there's very few Republicans I can name that I would support, and there's very few Democrats that I can say that I would support, because I am not tied to a political party. That is not my definition. My definition is I don't trust you, and I don't trust you. Give me the facts. Give me the truth. I'll do the search. I'm going to make my own decision off from what I deem is the facts. So, going on. COVID, the effect on our children, the damage that's been done to our children, when is enough enough? When are we going to start putting education in the mental health of our children, as well as working on the social interaction skills that our children need to garner to be successful in today's society? When are we going to put those first? The guidelines for my school have become overreaching and tyrannical in nature, and creating more dysfunction in parents' lives, single parents' lives, and everybody in between. For example, if a kid in my daughter's class has been exposed to somebody that may have been exposed to COVID, they are to either A, be tested every day before school. You have to go between the hours of 6 and 7 p.m. That's Franklin County, so Maple School District. And go get them tested and get the results for the test for them to be eligible to go into the public school that's paid by taxpayers, aka you and me. And we do not have one death of a child of COVID in Vermont. We have 22, as I checked this morning, total deaths of COVID in Vermont. 95.3% of Vermont has been vaccinated, or at least had the first dose of vaccination, which we were told we were free from in July by this current administration. And you wonder why people don't believe what they're being told. You wonder why people are over this COVID thing. When it's politically convenient for the current administration, they will say, we are free from COVID. When it's July 4th and I want that photo op, we are free and independent of COVID. Get that? They're playing off the Independence Day and being independent from COVID, because COVID is supposed to be dictating our life, which I have not allowed it to do since this began. I've taken precautions. I've been wary of uh, the vulnerable, the elderly, the people that have respiratory issues. I've taken cautious precautions to make sure I'm doing the smart, safe choice for not just me and my family, but for them as well. I have nothing against the vaccine. If you want it, go get it. If you want 10 of them, go get it. If you don't, don't. It should not affect your life. Thank you for the Supreme Court. Checks and balances. Win for them. Thank you, founders. Thank you, our framers. On to my next point. Oh, I don't want to get off that point real quick. I've chosen to quarantine my daughter for the 14 days. With the vacation coming, with the fact that she's not learning significant stuff in kindergarten, I don't feel like it's at a detriment to her education or overall ability to achieve. But I do believe as parents we need to step up and start going to these school board meetings, demand accountability, demand factual reasoning for decisions. Where is the evidence that children are at high risk, vulnerable, and are dropping from this disease? Show me. Because when we're talking about schools, we're talking about our children. And when we're talking about our children, we should keep their lives as normal as possible. And as I move on from this topic of COVID, I want you to think to yourself, ask yourself this. What is my child thinking about COVID and the reaction that we have shown as adults, as leaders, and as people they look up to? What is our reaction been? I know what I personally believe. I know what I've personally done to always keep that in mind of the example that I'm setting for my child. And I stand by my words. We do not work out of fear. Excuse me. We do not move out of fear. We move out of common sense, facts, things that mean things. What's right and what's wrong. It is wrong to mess with our children's education. It is wrong to tell a senior football player that, oh, sorry, no more football. You're done. Yeah, I know it sucks. Anyways, I want Dr. Fauci gone. I've signed a petition myself. I believe he lied. I believe he's crooked. I believe he's corrupt. I believe he's a dictocrat that is in a non-elected position making serious decisions, and he's been there forever. Time to go. We need term sentences. This is a democracy. Democracy means that it's fluidly moving with different partakers in leadership positions. Also, I wanted to touch base on the Kim Potter Dante Rice trial that's going on. I've been watching it live at some points when I can and I have time. And, I've paid attention to the video and the close factual facts of the case. I've read transcripts of the case, of court proceedings and hearings and the evidence. So I don't claim to be a medical examiner or a criminologist or a professional in any terms. But if ID channel hours, if ID channel hours accumulated for your qualifications of being a criminologist or a crime professional or a lawyer or whatever, I would be number one on the list. My Lieutenant Joe Kenda skills are second to none. And all my ID channel family, you're gonna know what I mean. But getting a little more serious, Dante Rice. I just want to discuss who he was as a person real quick before we get into the nitty gritty of it. Dante Rice was, I believe he was 18, 19, maybe 20 years old, young kid, had a kid himself, had a criminal record, had a warrant out at that time, still lived with his parents. You can look it up online. There's numerous videos. He was into the gang life, the thug life, the diamonds and the change and the guns and the bragging about it on video, and he fell for the trap that I fell for as a young black man in this country of believing that what society tells you or shows you what a black man is what I'm supposed to be, and not realizing me inside define my blackness. You do not. That's this that's why liberals scare me more than conservatives, because liberals are so ignorant. They believe they're helping you by singling you out by your color. When I'm saying treat me for me and what I show you morally and physically with my actions, rather than what you see of me. Because you may see me from afar yelling at some little girl or small woman, this big black man, thinking I'm trying to be violent and mean to her from what it looks like, but you don't know the facts, and I'm really just passionate, loud person, big mouth, yelling about politics. And the fact that our government is failing us, which is one of the things that makes me the most angriest. And when I was a child, I didn't believe that black people could be educated. I would always get picked on in school when I would try to study and when I would try to get good grades. And when I would be reading a book, I would be told by my peers, man, you act white. Man, you reading that book, man, paying attention in class, doing your homework, man, you act white. Oh, you use proper English? Man, you are the whitest black man I know. And that used to be funny to me. That used to not bother me. I used to pay it no mind. But it is the biggest, most ignorant statement you can make to me. Because you are judging me off my color and not my characteristics as a human being, my surrounding, my environment. I am a product of my environment, not my color. And that's what people need to realize about people that are in urban settings. They are not a product of their color. They are a product of their environment. We need to change the environment. We need to be fathers. We need to be in the homes. If we're not with the female we have a child with, does not mean we are divorced from that kid. Because you're off chasing something that looks hotter, younger, and nicer. No. Raise your kid. Install principles. Respect. Follow the law. When a police officer pulls you over, you are not a P word or a wussy because you follow the directions. The most humble, most manly leadership, alpha dog, bullcrap thing I've ever done in my life was take accountability for the wrong I've done. That is a big piece of humble pie a lot of people need to start taking a bite of. Because if you can't take accountability for your actions, you can't change the shit you've done wrong. Excuse my language. Anyways, tying that into Dante Rice. That's who he was as a human being. Kim Potter, what I've gathered about her, the police officer who accidentally pulled her gun and discharged it and believed it to be a taser, she should have never been on the police force. I do not believe she's guilty of malicious murder or second-degree homicide or anything like that. I believe she's guilty of negligence of lack of training and negligence of lack of you knew you weren't built to be on a police force. You do not have the composure. That woman has the strength of a wet noodle. I swear. You watch the case, watch the tape of the actual incident with Dante Rice and this police officer who was supposed to be training an black American officer who was a rookie, and she was supposed to be training him and teaching him. And the way she breaks down after she ends up shooting him, crying, breaking down, that's not the composure or the chemical makeup characteristics of a person you want on a police force. No, we don't want ravish, evil mother effers on the police force either. But this is why some women will even say that women should not be in strong, prominent positions of president, because they move off emotion and they don't think off of factual common sense, take a second to breathe first. See how, men think more like that. And I don't want to get into that whole misogynistic argument. I'm just talking about the characteristics of male to female. Anyways, and I've heard women say, myself, I will not vote for a woman president or a woman governor because of this. That's all I'm saying. I am a father to a little queen, princess, who I tell and believe can achieve anything in this world if she has the right tools, the right training, the right composure, and the physical ability to do it. I will encourage her. But if she grows up and says, hey, I want to wrestle sumo at 5'8", 128 pounds, I'm going to discourage that. That's not smart. So, Kim Potter, in my personal opinion on the matter of Dante Rice in the criminal trial of the police officer Kim Potter, I believe she's not guilty of an intentional homicide. I do believe she's guilty for negligence and the lack of emotional composure that is necessary for the employment as a police officer to be able to fulfill his or her duties. This officer was trained. If this officer was trained better and there was more resources given to our police officers to ensure their training was better, I believe Dante Rice would still be alive. I don't believe it was out of an intentional or malicious intent. I do believe it was irresponsible on the trained and the uncomposed behavior of the officer on the incident. And adding in Dante Rice's behavior and his non-composure to the police officer's orders and commands led to this becoming a tragic incident that we see today. In the presence of a police officer, and he should have followed her orders, she would have never pulled that taser if he was complying. We cannot lose that point, and that's a failure upon his parents. His parents did not install in him these things to be successful in society. Respect for the law, follow the law. That gracious, humble pie I spoke of, being able to swallow that when you do wrong. He had a warrant out for his arrest. He needed to go deal with that, not run. No one deserves to lose their life. No one. It doesn't matter what choices you're making. It doesn't matter what bad choices you made. It doesn't matter if you're not using your life for good. No one has the right to take your life. So there needs to be accountability for that. There's a mother without a son. I don't know about his father, if his father's in the picture, but there's a father without a son. His father is in the picture. Which I don't understand how this kid ended up becoming and behaving the way he did with having both of his parents in his life. No police officer has the power to do so, to choose who or who doesn't get to go home at night. I believe that the police department should be held more accountable than the police officer herself. And for these reasons, because your job as a police force or a police supervisor in leadership position is to know that the police officers that you're sending out into the community that are paid and there to protect the citizens of that community are able and fit to be able to fulfill the duties of a police officer, whether that's being able to handle a hectic situation, whether that's having the chemical makeup and being able to handle the stress of the job, whether that's being trained with the right guidelines and qualifications and certificates and whatever to be able to save somebody's life with CPR, to be able to get somebody mental health and help if you can see the signs and diagnose it. Not be a doctor, but be able to at least send that person in the right direction to be able to get the resources that are needed. We do not need less police. We need more. We're seeing all-time highs in crime. That's not on accident. Notice, to all my black brethrens out there, I want you to think about this. I want you to think about this. 2019 was an election year. We heard nothing but BLM, nothing but rioting. George Floyd was a big deal. Every time something happened in the black community, it was talked about. and how it was effed up and everything's against us and we're victims and we're still under the suppression of the white man, and the white man's not allowing me to have both of my parents in the home. The white man's making my mother become a drug addict. The white man's making my father become a drug addict. The white man's the one that put me in the system. The white man's the one that made my mother come to the foster home, make her move me around 1,000 times. The white man did that. No, we need to be accountable for our own actions. And people that are not from that side need to understand that you are not, you are a product of your environment. Now, that's it for Crosses Talk. If you like the content in this video, please hit that like button. I'm going to try to make this channel get big and get some common sense in a common senseless world. Thank you for tuning in. This is Cross, and I'm out.